Welcome to another insightful episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. In this podcast, Mary Catherine Johnson and Evan Johnson highlight the successes and struggles of parents in business. They share how to be the example of success in entrepreneurship to foster the same in your child, and so much more. Are you ready to power up?
I'm here with my incredible co-host, Mary, and also my mom. And we have a guest that I am very excited about, Nate Bailey. Nate, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate you guys having me on. This is awesome.
So I'm sure not everyone listening knows you as well as we do. So for them, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, you bet. That's always try and figure out where to start on this one. But my name is Nate Bailey. Like you said, I am a coach, a consultant. I do speaking. I work with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs. Really enjoy doing live experiences and events. I have a 24-hour. I don't know if there's a video for this, but I got my shirt on right now, Championship Leadership 24 or CL 24, and then also a 3-day Unleash the Leader Within, but all with really the intent of helping people to become better leaders and really just take their life to the next level. We all want to kind of continue to take those next steps in life and continue to grow. So that's what I do. That's what I do at probably a very 30,000 foot level. I have a podcast. I'm an author, husband, almost 20 years now, which is crazy. Here in September, just very short 2 months away, not even 2 months actually, and 3 children, live in Minnesota, grew up in Wisconsin, Packer fan, so was in the Army, was an officer. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
That was a really good summary. How old are your kids?
They are 13, 11, and then my youngest will be 9 here September 1st, as of today, what's the end of July. So going into 3rd grade, 6th grade, and 8th grade. So, man, time goes fly, doesn't it, Mary?
I'm sorry. I'm just going to say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
8th grade, for the 8th grade.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That fun stuff is coming up.
From day to day, you just never know who I'm going to get. But for the most part, she's been decent. But I know it's, it's like, who are you some days when she walks out of her room? Like,
I'm telling you that, it's hopefully, and I'm sure you will, seeing where you come from and how you approach life as a leadership perspective. But, as long as you don't get stuck in those years and get stuck in your attitude toward your children, I'm not saying you, but us, as long as we don't get stuck in that, we see it as a really transient time, and just look forward to who they're becoming. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Luckily, I have boys. I'm very happy.
Yeah, my 2 oldest are daughters. So, yes, all the prayers are welcome.
Especially 8th grade. We're going into getting ready for high school, and
those are the toughest years, right? I mean, they were for me, that's for sure. And like you say, I think it's even a little tougher for girls. Girls are mean. Not all of them are, but at that age, a lot of them are.
Middle school? Are you kidding? That's like the first time you have to actually go into PE and dress.
Yeah, right.
And they're all comparing whether you're wearing a bra or not. Yeah. I mean, I used to volunteer at the middle school, and it was nasty. It was nasty. I mean, they were like, putting each other down if they're not wearing thong underwear yet.
Oh,
right?
My goodness. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah.
I'm telling you, just wait.
I get it. Like, yeah, I believe those are real conversations.
Oh my God.
That a dad does not want to hear.
No. That's what we're here for. We're here to put new fear into you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, I can always be trusted to do that. Definitely.
Yeah. I had a very pleasant middle school experience. I'm just going to put that out there.
You did. Good.
Yes, I did.
Well, that's good.
So with your kids, are they, especially the 13-year-old, but for any of them, are they in any way involved in your business and in what you do?
No, not really. Not at this point. I mean, but I don't even know if they totally understand what I do, but I think they have a decent idea. I mean, they know that I do these types of events, but yeah, like at a real deep understanding, probably not. But they do, they know I have a podcast, and and they ask questions from time to time. But
Wait, they have a podcast?
do they? No, they know that I have a podcast.
Oh, they know you have.
So they know that I do those types of things and do a lot of calls online with people and stuff like that. But yeah, they're not really, not involved. My middle daughter wants to own a bakery and run a bakery, which is kind of interesting. I'm not exactly sure, but she's been talking about that for a while now. She's sticking to it as of right now. My oldest, she does talk about, especially recently, about wanting to make more money. And so conversations have come up with her. Well, you should start a business, and I haven't pushed her super hard on that, but kind of pushing that along a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Didn't I also want a bakery when I was?
You did.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah.
He actually was going to make some type of a bakery around cinnamon.
Oh, see,
cinnamon.
I was very young at this time.
Yeah.
He loves cinnamon. He was going to do, he's like, everything, cinnamon, everything. I want to sell cookies with cinnamon, cakes with cinnamon. I mean,
gotta be honest, I do not remember the cinnamon connection, but I get it because it's good. Now instead of owning it, I'm just going to patronize those establishments very, generously.
Yeah, that could be one of the downfalls of having a podcast with your mom. Sure, they got that steel trap, and they're not afraid to embarrass you at all.
True. Oh, I'm not embarrassed. I think cinnamon is awesome.
Cinnamon is awesome.
Go younger me. You
right.
What was up.
I mean, totally. That's the whole point. He was like, "That's it," and give me, And we used to, when they were really young, we had a little stand that they would stand next to the island, and as I was cooking dinner, they would bake. Right. So I'd give them a bowl, and they'd just put every ingredient possible in this bowl and mix it up and make soup and all that. So after that, he was thinking, cinnamon. I love cinnamon. Why don't I bake things and sell them? And people would eat them, right, Mom? I'm like, you bet, let's go. And he just started going crazy with his imagination. And I mean, that really is ultimately why we're here talking to you and so many incredible entrepreneurs, because there are things our kids come up with and some of their talents or abilities that we can help them maximize to give them that first step into entrepreneurship.
Yeah. As kids too, they don't have there's not a lot of limiting beliefs set into them either. Like they have an idea or a thought like that, and they just put it out there like, yeah, why wouldn't we do this? And which is awesome. And at some point that gets robbed and stolen from them. So I guess, as a parent, do all you can to continue to promote that and encourage that as long as you can.
Which I think is rare nowadays in a lot of parents. At least people I know in my personal life, not their business, they definitely have all the limiting beliefs and limiting mindsets for sure. I see that in them.
Yeah.
Or you could just do that thing. Right. They always say what's practical. And I'm like, ugh, would you stop saying that word?
Yeah. Like, I know it. Yeah.
So dumb.
Kind of, dream stealers, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So your daughters aren't like involved directly, but especially with the older one, you can kind of see it like at beginning. So now that she's looking to try to make some more money, it's kind of like, I know you did stuff online, right? You're in there taking calls all the time, but like, what do you do? And do you make money doing it? Like, what's up with that? Do you kind of see like it's getting to that point, kind of?
I think it will. The other piece that I do, I have a fair amount of rental properties too, which ideally would love to be able to pull them into that world a little bit too as they get a little bit older, as well. So yeah, I just and even around the conversation of college. I've kind of tried. I'm not against college necessarily, if they really want to go and have the experience, or if, they really want to go get a degree that requires you to go to college. But at the same time, I've always been pretty open about telling them that, it's not a requirement. They don't have to. And there's plenty of other routes and avenues that they can go. Because I don't know, I didn't really have anyone telling me that. I always kind of thought that was just what I needed to do, was to, and I really, if I look back, I haven't thought about it too much until really now, but I wanted to play sports too. So I guess that was another reason that I wanted to go to college, was just purely to have that experience as a athlete, which probably isn't a great reason to go to school, but it was great memories and experience. But yeah, so constantly just trying to keep them open to all kinds of different ideas and thoughts, and not create this this world of like, black or white, like you have to do this or that. Like, you got lots of possibilities and options.
Yeah. I mean, I got to say something about that, because, you and Evan and I know each other because of the fact that Evan came into my business as my podcast editor.
Yeah.
At the age of like 16,
yeah.
I was doing this exact podcast, Parent Entrepreneur Power, the first generation of it. And I was doing it all myself and editing and all that. And he was 16 going, I want to maybe make some money. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Do you want to learn how to do this? And I'll pay you. And he's like, okay. And it didn't require him to like be in an office talking to people 8 to 5, 9 to 5, nothing like that. It really was allowing him to get a job done, learn responsibility, learn a skill, and make money for it. And then when he's looking around and all of his buddies are going out and actually getting part-time jobs or even full-time jobs when they're getting out of high school, thinking about, middle of high school, thinking, what am I going to do to make money? He's like, I don't know what I should do to make money. And I'm like, you got a skill, go do it for people.
Yeah.
So even that with your daughters, and you got not only your business, but the rental agent, the rental properties, there must be something that they can do, or whether they're more operational type people or they're creatives, whatever their tendencies, there might be things they can do that you can pay them for, to see that skill that they have and be able to start earning a living.
Yeah, definitely. Especially as they get a little bit older. I'm sure there will be some opportunities there. Also on the rental property side, they have actually helped out a little bit, where we've paid my wife to go clean, some units, and they've gone and helped and done some of that. So they see a little bit of, a small piece of that side of that business, and they've helped through some of those things that I hadn't really thought of before. But yeah, you're right that there is some definite opportunities, and there will be more as time goes on and they get just a little bit older to do that.
Have you ever had like conversations with your kids on entrepreneurship, or has it really just kind of been waiting for them to come to you asking about it?
Not a ton of conversations. I mean, I have, like I said, with my oldest and talking about money, and just I've thrown it out there that she should start a business, and even like mowing lawns. She says she doesn't want to mow lawns, or there's other things and opportunities for her to go and do something. And I think it's not trying to push her too hard, because especially Mina, the oldest at this age, if I push too hard, she kind of just shuts down. So it's a delicate line that I have to walk. But I think over time those small little conversations add up, and she starts to think and process about it, and then she'll come back to me over time and start to ask a few more questions. And I think something will happen here in the next year or two with that.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, maybe there's some things that she comes up with, or maybe there's things that her friends are doing that, sometimes the kids have these greatest ideas, right? Like the stories will happen from time to time of this kid that creates an idea that takes off, right? And it's not that it has to take off like that, where you make millions or whatever, but kids have some cool ideas, and they don't, like we talked, don't necessarily have some of those limiting beliefs behind them. I think with my daughter, it's probably this is the time where those things are starting to happen and formulate pretty strongly in the junior high level. And so trying to stay ahead of that too in the conversations.
Especially when she gets into high. Oh yeah. Go ahead. I was just going to say, especially when she gets into high school, everybody's going to want to go out and do stuff. That's what happened to me. That was a big motivator for me to definitely like continue a business was everyone was like, do you want to go out, get food, something like that? And I'm like, yeah, because I have money to spend on that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. It's like, it can be the flip side too, where there's so much going on and they want to hang out with friends and do this and that to where they don't want to have a business, which is fine too. I think you can find a balance. You don't have to totally lose your high school life just to go make money. I don't necessarily think that that's the right option either. And she and the other two seem to be pretty involved too in different activities, whether it's sports or band or choir or whatever. Like they got a lot there on their plate too. So I do want them to be a kid, but at the same time, there's no reason they can't think outside the box a little bit and with that entrepreneurial spirit. I'd love to see them take that on, to see that there are other possibilities out there for them.
Mm-hmm. What was perfect for me too, when I was in high school especially, was like the project to project basis of what I was doing, the podcast editing, because that's what it is, right? It's as long as the thing gets out by such and such time on such and such day, that's fine, so I can get it done early on a Tuesday or whatever. Yeah. And then people are hanging out on Friday, then I'm just like, I'm totally free. I totally work.
Yeah, no, that's great for especially, and at that age to time management and some of the skills that you have to create at a young age that serve you well, really no matter what you do outside of high school or whatever path you take, those skills are going to be something that you have ingrained in yourself that will be very useful moving forward. Because a lot of us, I know me especially, like I was the guy that was studying for the test the night before and putting everything off until the very last minute, and sometimes not even getting it in until late or whatever, right? So had I had something like that, in high school, to help instill that in me a little bit sooner would have been priceless.
Yeah, and especially when they have your leadership training and that perspective, right? I call it planting seeds. So I'm the only girl in the household, right? So I know I don't like use the B word. I don't do that to the men in my life, right? I'm not going to just keep bugging them until they do what I want. I'll plant seeds and see which ones take root and which ones they're interested in. And I'll just keep planting those seeds with no expectation. That's the key. So many parents plant the seeds, but they're like pushing it like I really do this. That's not going to get you anywhere. You need to plant it, water it, walk away. Don't have any stake in whether or not they do it.
Well, I feel like a big reason why I actually started doing the podcasting with you was because you just like walked in one day and you were like, hey, I have, or you've been talking about potentially wanting extra money. If you want, I have this podcast that I want to outsource the editing to. I can teach you how to do it and you can do it and I'll pay you X amount of money to do it. And then knowing me, I don't remember, but I was probably like, okay, I'll think about it. And then, I did. And then I came back and I was like, okay, I'll do it. But it wasn't like you weren't coming back like, hey, are you going to do this thing? Are you going to do this thing? Or you weren't like, hey, you should do this, or you do this for me. It was just a super casual, like, oh yeah, I have this, job. If you want to give it a try, here's what it would look like. Here's how much I'd pay you.
And sometimes it is. It's tough as a parent. There's something you really want them to do, and I'm sure we've all done it, where you push a little bit too hard, and you realize, I should have eased up a little bit. So I'm always working on that for sure. But yeah, absolutely, the planting of the seeds is a great way to put it.
Yeah, and you never know when they're gonna germinate. You really don't know when they're gonna flourish. But as long as you keep offering them, like now Evan's brother Riley, he loves animation and he's been teaching himself how to animate on the computer and all those things. And I went to him the same thing and said, hey, you're doing awesome stuff. do you want to maybe do some of those things for me? And, you know, I need some images done, or I need some short little GIFs or videos or things like that. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. And, you know, gave him a couple of projects, and he did crazy, amazing things too. So
Awesome.
that's it. And so then he can go, but because of that, both of them now have their own businesses in the things that they did for me, because I was like their first portfolio.
Right. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, the opportunity to be able to do that, it gives them some credibility because they've done it, quote, professionally, right?
Right.
It's so cool. And then this is just the first stepping stone. It doesn't mean Evan's going to be a podcast editor the rest of his life, or Riley's going to, you know, do social media posting for people the rest of his life. But now think of what we had. This is the number one thing for me. The obstacles I had to overcome, even to just get to the point where I could actually be confident enough to charge money for something that I had supposed value in. That was really difficult for me. And if I could help them do that and not have that difficulty, they'll have others, but at least not that one. Right.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's huge. It is. It's like I said, it's before some of those bad habits sink in, and to set that foundation early with some really good, powerful ones from the start is priceless.
How is your leadership training? I mean, that's really interesting to me, because I know what you do as a leader, and you help others become leaders or better leaders. How do you think you're going to marry that concept with helping them maybe become entrepreneurs themselves? Do you see any way that your parenting has changed because of your leadership training?
Yeah, I would like to think so. I would like to think a lot of the things that I will teach or train at some of these events are things that I'm also living, as well as implementing into the conversation with my kids at home and how I show up. I think one of the biggest, as a leader is by example, or, setting the standard yourself and not just doing the bare minimum. And so I think a lot of it is just from them seeing me and what I do, and watching that. They're always watching more closely than I think we realize sometimes. And so I think that's the biggest way I can really take, that leadership piece, is leading by example. Hopefully my words lining up with my actions. That's a big one, right? A lot of times as parents, we want to tell them one thing and do another, right? So, and again, I'm guilty of that from time to time, definitely. But just do as I say, not as I do.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah. I got that growing up so much, especially both my parents smoked. Right. They're like, do as I say, not as I do. Exactly. Like, oh yeah,
me too.
That works.
Yeah. Luckily, somehow I that never, because my parents were big smokers. They still are, unfortunately. Yeah. But that's not one thing that I picked up. So
nope.
Weird, but.
Yeah, same here. I can't even stand the smell of cigarette smoke anymore. Yeah. I just really can't. But I'm really lucky. I'm just counting my lucky stars that I didn't pick that up.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I had, there was a lot of smoking in my household growing up, but I didn't pick it up either.
Unfortunately, I do remember sitting around like a kitchen table with like the aunts and uncles, and they were all smokers, and we were all just sitting in that room like it wasn't a big deal. Now, like if you're in a room like that, you're like, oh my God, you can't stand it. And to think that was just super normal. And you could literally see like just the haze of smoke in the dining room. And I do remember that. And also remembering, not thinking it was a big deal, but like now that all the education and what the damages that can be, and even secondhand smoke, and it's crazy when I think about it today, but yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing with seatbelts. I was driving with Riley the other day.
Oh yeah, right.
Same thing. He's like, he was in the back of this, and he's like, oh, I've got to get buckled and all that. He's like, oh, it would be terrible. The police officer comes. I'm like, I was in the back of a pickup,
back of the pickup or back of the station wagon or
Back of the
whatever,
station
right?
wagon, no seat belts, nobody ever. I mean, when I took my driver's test when I was 16, we had to dig the seat belts out of the, the crack in the seat, and they were gross and yucky. And the guy that was giving me the test is like, "Are you going to pay for my dry cleaning?" I'm like, "What? I don't." Never even thought of it. Never, ever even considered wearing seatbelts. Just so many things that have changed.
Yeah. I remember that law coming through, and, there's a lot of resistance at the time. Now you think back and it's kind of silly that we resisted it, but yeah, but that's with everything, I guess. What's when this conversation for parents and their kids and entrepreneurship, what types of resources are there out there for, someone like my daughter that might want to start their own business?
Yeah, good question. So we haven't found specific resources for entrepreneurship. There are many like camps or schools that that we found. There are actually some elementary and middle school, I don't think high school, but elementary and middle schools that are specifically entrepreneurial focused. They're private schools in certain areas. And there are lots of, I do have some resources, and we'll put them into the show notes for money management for kids. There's like a debit card that you can get. I think it's called the greenhouse or something. Anyway, there's like a debit card where you can, have certain amounts for donations or, giving and saving and spending, and it helps them get that pattern down. But in terms of entrepreneurship, that's really the reason Evan and I started this, is to provide that kind of coaching and consulting, because we've done it together, not just Evan, but also Riley. And we coach mostly parents, to help them structure their business, to find ways that their kids can participate without requiring them to actually start a business, so that they can take the baby step, right? To realizing what they can do.
And also, even on top of all of that, the main resource I feel like for kids with entrepreneur parents is the entrepreneur parents themselves. You know what I mean? Not in a pushy way, but in a, like, they know if and when they end up thinking about wanting to do something like that, they can go to the parent and ask them, and it'll be very casual, and the parent will be there to, share and to answer the questions.
I think, and I think there are, if you think to some of the people that you run into that talk about how they grew up in the family business, right? And a lot of and they typically are some pretty successful people, whether they stayed in the family business or whether they, decided, hey, this isn't for me. This isn't the path I want to take. There's so much that they get from those experiences that helps them to be who they are. And so I think it is incredible that you guys are doing this, because it's such a great opportunity for them to because I didn't, my parents they're just not entrepreneurs, and they don't have that mindset. They don't like the risk that they see in it, that keeps them from doing something like that. And so, I never had that experience. And so I was also not really super encouraged to go do something like that either. I collected cans as a kid and made some money there, but that was about it. And I remember, like, whenever you had to go sell stationery or something for the contest, like, I do remember not having any fear. Like, I would go up to, I did really well in those, because I would go to everyone's door and sell stationery or whatever it was that we were selling, and or get donations for the bike-a-thon or whatever, which I think definitely has helped me as a great skill set in sales, today, from when I was a little kid. I don't know where it came from, but I guess there was something inside of me that maybe a little bit of a natural tendency or lack of that fear, or, again, the limiting belief. It wasn't there. I didn't know. I was just like, I'm just going to go ask these people if they want to buy some stationery. One way or the other really didn't matter to me. But yeah, to grow up in a family where that's encouraged by the parents and fostered, like, all the different skill sets that can be learned are incredible. If you think about it. Yeah.
And there's a big difference, though, because I know my husband came from a family business, and it was an expectation, right, that he was going to work in it and eventually take it over. That's totally different.
That's way different, right?
Yeah. And the same thing. I mean, Evan and I have had conversations with people that even though they're saying like, yeah, I really want to encourage entrepreneurship, but they have to go to college. That's there's no option. They must go. Those kinds of attitudes are not going to help the kids as much.
I agree.
And it's a distinction. It's a fine distinction. But I agree with you. Having that exposure to actually be able to work wherever you want and wherever your talents might take you is invaluable opportunity.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So as we start to wind down the podcast, we like to end with a powerful question. If you were to die tomorrow, what entrepreneurial legacy would you leave for your kids to use as an example as they themselves grow into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's like, I know you gave me a little bit of a short notice on that right before we started to record. So that's a really good question. I talked a little bit about, again, around leadership and I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, but I'd like to think that I've set a pretty good example for my kids. And so even if they don't fully 100% understand what it is that I do, they have an idea. And although I've had to travel, I've made it a priority when I'm not or when I'm home to be present with them and to spend time with them. And again, to set an example of what it's like to go out, to be on your own, to provide for your family. And you see a lot of, especially entrepreneurs, and I understand why, because you start this business, you're excited about it. And then a lot of times it consumes people. And a big part of that is maybe because they have a lot invested into it. And if it fails, they're in trouble. And so priorities do get out of whack. And a lot of times the people that take the brunt of that are the family. And, you can have many kids or marriages that break up or kids that don't really know their parents because of it. And the parents are just thinking the whole time, man, I'm just doing this for my family, right? And so that's quite the conundrum to be in. But so hopefully the legacy is that I was willing to do what's required to hopefully create a good lifestyle for my kids, and at the same time, not sacrifice my relationship with them in order to do that.
Yeah. I like that.
That balance, you hit it right on the head. Hopefully, I mean, a balance doesn't exist. They're all choices.
Yeah.
So those choices, that's really all it's about, living our life that way. I think that's a great legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Nate, thank you so much for being willing to come on the show. For people who are interested in you and what you do, where can they find out more about you?
You bet. Yeah, the best place would be just to go to my website, go to natebailey.org and pick up a free audiobook, 100 Mile Mindset. Check out my podcast and all the different things that I have going on right there. Connect with me on social media there as well.
Yeah, there we go. That is one thing that we didn't mention is that you ran 100 miles, which I still, I say that to my friends sometimes, like I work with someone who ran 100 miles. And they're like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah, that is something a person can do. Yes.
Yeah.
I was also surprised.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not recommended, but yeah, I have done it a few times.
But it is physically possible for a human to do.
It is. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you so much again, Nate, for being on the show.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It has been absolutely valuable. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Entrepreneur Power. Hopefully you came away with valuable tools you can use in your business, life, and relationship with your kids. If you want to hear more about our mission, or if you want more insights into cultivating your parent entrepreneur power, join our movement to make entrepreneurship more accessible to parents and their kids at parententrepreneurpower.com.